Welcome to the deep dive. Get ready because today we're jumping into the pretty fascinating world of 3D modeling, visualization, and data capture.
That's right.
We've got this detailed report from Cognitive Market Research looking at the industry as it stands, well, basically now in 2025, and projecting out.
It gives a really solid snapshot.
Yeah, so our goal here is to unpack the key insights, the market size, where the growth's coming from, the hotspots globally, and what's really driving things. Let's try and build a clear picture.
Absolutely. And the report gives us a great starting point with the numbers. For 2025, the global market is estimated at 1,240 million US dollars.
Okay, 1.24 billion, solid number.
Wow.
But what about the growth? That's always the interesting part.
Exactly. That's where the story gets, well, more dynamic. It's expected to grow to USD 1,776.95 million by 2033,
Right, so close to 1.8 billion.
which works out to a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of 4.60% between 2025 and 2033.
Okay, 4.6%. That's steady, consistent growth then. So what's the main engine behind this push? What's making it grow?
Well, a really big factor the report flags is the increasing demand for what it calls immersive experiences.
Immersive experiences. Okay, like what specifically?
Think about, ultra-realistic video games, virtual property viewings where you feel like you're walking through the house, complex training simulations for, say, surgery or operating heavy machinery.
Yeah, okay. Things that pull you in digitally.
Precisely. And this growing appetite for richer, more engaging digital stuff is creating a huge need for, well, top-notch 3D content and the tech to make it.
That makes a lot of sense. So geographically speaking, where's the main action happening right now? Where's the biggest market share?
Right now, North America is definitely the dominant player. For 2025, it holds the largest slice of the pie, over 40% of global revenue.
Over 40%.
Yeah, which translates to about USD 458.8 zillion.
Okay. And their growth outlook.
Their projected CAGR is 3.1% through 2033. So solid, but maybe a bit more, let's say, mature compared to some other spots.
Interesting. So the U.S. and Canada are the big drivers there, I assume. The report breaks that down, doesn't it?
It does. The U.S., being a major tech hub, has a market size of roughly USD 362 million in 2025. Its CAGR is projected at 2.9%.
Okay.
Canada, also strong in tech infrastructure, is around USD 55 million, but with a slightly higher growth forecast, 3.9% TGR.
And Mexico.
Mexico comes in at about USD 42 million with a 3.6% projected TGR.
Okay, so North America's leading currently. Why is that? What's underpinning their dominance right now?
Well, the report points to a couple of things. One is the expansion in the oil and gas sector, particularly in the U.S. and Canada. They're really leaning into 3D product design and even 4D visualization.
4D, what's the fourth dimension?
Time, basically. Adding time to the 3D model for simulations, project phasing, things like that. Super useful for complex plant operations.
Yeah, right. Makes sense for planning.
And the other factor is just the sheer number of startups in the U.S. working in this 3D tech space. Lots of innovation happening. Got it. Okay, let's hop across the pond. How's Europe looking in the 3D market? Europe's holding the second spot. In 2025, they account for just over 30% of global revenue. That's about USD 360 million.
Okay, still a very significant share. And their growth.
The projected CGR is a little higher than North America's, actually, at 3.7%.
And I imagine it varies quite a bit within Europe.
It does. You've got the UK at around 60 million USD with a strong 4.5% CAGR forecast. Germany's a bit larger, about 71 million with a 3.9% CAGR.
Okay.
Then France is roughly 33 million, 2.9% CGR. Russia's quite significant at nearly 56 million, though a slightly lower projected growth at 2.7%.
And others like Italy, Spain.
Yep. Italy's around 31 million with 3.1%. Spain just under 30 million with 2.8%. So yeah, a diverse picture across the continent.
So what are the main things fueling growth in Europe? Is it similar drivers?
Partly. Europe has a very strong R&D base in these technologies. Plus, you see a lot of government support pushing innovation, things like Industry 4.0 initiatives, digital twin projects, smart city developments.
Right, the digitization push.
Exactly. And like everywhere else, that increasing demand for AR and VR experiences is definitely kicking in as well.
Okay, good overview. Now let's pivot to the region everyone often watches for high growth, Asia Pacific. What's the story there?
Right, APAC. Currently, they hold about 23% of the global market share. That's around USD 298 million in 2025.
Okay, so third place currently.
But, and this is the key thing, their projected CAGR for 2025 to 2033 is a massive 7.3%.
Wow, 7.3%. That's significantly higher than North America or Europe.
By far the highest projected growth rate globally. It really signals where a lot of the momentum is expected.
Which countries are leading that charge in APAC?
China is the giant in the region, obviously. About 125 million USD market size in 2025, with a projected 6.8% CAGR.
Still very strong.
Then you have Japan, around 41 million, 5.8% CAGR. South Korea is about 36 million, growing at 6.4%. And India really stands out.
India, how so?
Well, its current market size is smaller, around 30 million USD, but its projected CAGR is an incredibly high 9.2%.
9.2%. That's huge.
Yeah.
What's behind this rapid expansion across the whole APAC region?
It's sort of a perfect storm of factors. You've got rapid development and adoption of the 3D tech itself, plus that rising demand for immersive experiences we keep mentioning. Then there's the huge amount of infrastructure development and urbanization happening. Think new cities, transport networks. 3D tools are essential for that plan.
Absolutely critical, yeah.
And like in Europe, many APAC governments are actively promoting digital tools and transformation.
Okay, that paints a clear picture of APAC's potential. What about South America?
South America accounts for a bit over 5% of the global market in 2025. Market size around 47 million USD.
And their growth?
Projected CAGR is pretty healthy at 5.3%. Brazil and Argentina are the main markets there.
And the drivers in South America, different focus maybe.
Well, a big one is the transformation happening in their architecture, engineering, and construction, the AEC sector. They're adopting 3D modeling rapidly. Plus, you see rising demand for 3D animation and visual effects in entertainment, and also growing use in healthcare, like for designing medical devices or planning surgeries.
Interesting. Healthcare apps are growing everywhere, it seems. Now, the Middle East.
The Middle East holds a smaller share, around 2% globally. That's about 27 million USD in 2025. But their growth forecast is strong, 5.9% CAGR.
5.9%, okay. Similar to South America's growth rate, key countries.
Saudi Arabia and the UAE are the leaders there.
And what's fueling their 5.9% growth?
Primarily massive infrastructure projects. Think huge urban developments, new transit systems, smart city initiatives. They need these 3D tools extensively.
Right, those big vision projects.
And also, like North America, the oil and gas industry is a major user of 3D tech in the Middle East.
Okay. And finally, Africa.
Africa has a similar market size to the Middle East currently, also around 1% globally, about 27 million USD in 2025. And interestingly, the same projected CAGR of 5.9%.
5.9% as well. Which countries are prominent?
South Africa and Nigeria are the largest markets mentioned.
And the growth drivers in Africa, infrastructure again.
Yes, rapidly growing cities and the infrastructure needed to support them is a big factor. But also, growth in their own creative industries, animation, gaming, film.
Okay.
Plus, technology is becoming more accessible and affordable. And there's an interesting application in using 3D data capture for preserving cultural heritage sites.
Oh, that's a fantastic use case. Okay, so that covers the global picture, a really diverse set of regional dynamics. Now, the report also slices the market by application, right? Let's start with 3D visualization.
Yes. So within 3D visualization, the biggest chunk right now is augmented reality and virtual reality, AR and VR.
Not surprising, given the buzz.
Exactly. It's being used more and more in gaming, entertainment, education, retail, loads of fields. And all that needs high-quality 3D material.
Makes sense. And where's the fastest growth within 3D visualization applications?
The report highlights safety and training as the fastest-growing segment.
Safety and training. Why is that booming?
Well, think about the increase in using things like drones and laser scanners to capture 3D data of work sites or complex environments.
Right.
There's a critical need to train people properly and safely on how to use this equipment, how to handle the data, privacy concerns, site safety protocols when using drones, etc. 3D visualization makes that training much more effective.
That's a really practical driver. I can see that. And the report mentioned other areas, too.
Oh, yeah. Marketing and sales animations are significant. Post-production work for film and media, visualizing products and processes.
Right.
And specifically in oil and gas, for visualizing really complex operational procedures like drilling, casing installation, refining processes, even transport logistics.
Very specialized uses. Okay, let's switch gears to 3D modeling solutions. What's the breakdown there?
Within the solutions themselves, 3D CAD modeling holds the largest share currently.
Standard CAD.
Yeah, computer-aided design. Yeah. It's kind of the foundation for precise design and engineering across so many industries, driven by, again, immersive demands, tech improvements in the software itself, and just wider adoption.
And what's expanding rapidly in the solution space?
That would be 3D BIM modeling. building information modeling.
Ah, BIM. Heard a lot about that. It's more than just the model, right?
Exactly. BIM isn't just a 3D picture of a building. It's an intelligent 3D model-based process. It embeds information data about every component, every material, every system within the model.
So it's data rich,
Very. And that allows architects, engineers, construction teams to collaborate way more effectively, spot clashes in the design before construction starts.
which saves a ton of money and hassle.
Huge savings. And it helps manage the building throughout its entire life cycle. So BIM is really taking off.
Okay, clear distinction. Now, what about the applications of 3D modeling itself? Where is it used most?
The biggest application area for 3D modeling is structural design.
Makes sense. Foundational stuff.
Absolutely. Ensuring buildings, bridges, whatever structure are safe, stable, functional. It's critical.
And the fastest growing application of modeling.
That's identified as equipment model.
Modeling machines and equipment.
Right. Crucial in manufacturing, construction, engineering, creating detailed 3D representations of machinery for design, simulation, maintenance planning, integration into larger systems.
Got it. And the report listed others like piping, HVAC.
Yes, very important in construction and industrial plants. Getting those complex systems designed accurately in 3D prevents clashes, optimizes material use, and it goes on civil and foundation work, generating automated reports like material takeoffs, designing specific things like vessels or pumps, even planning intelligent grids for utilities. It's very broad.
Really diverse uses. Okay, last category, 3D data capturing applications. What's dominant there?
In data capture, the largest share belongs to 3D laser scanning, specifically the static kind.
Static scanning. Like setting up a scanner on a tripod.
Exactly. Often using LiDAR technology, light detection and ranging. It sends out laser beams and measures the reflections to build up an incredibly detailed 3D point cloud.
The point cloud.
It's millions or billions of individual data points in 3D space that accurately map the surface of whatever was scanned. That data is then used to create the 3D models.
Okay, high precision. And the fastest growing data capture method.
That's identified as 3D aerial scanning.
Using drones or planes?
Precisely. Equipping drones or aircraft with sensors to capture 3D data from above. It's incredibly efficient for mapping large areas, surveying land, monitoring construction progress over wide sites.
Yeah, you can cover a lot of ground quickly that way. And there were others mentioned too.
Yep, 3D handheld scanners for smaller objects or tighter spaces, and various other types of sensors used in capture workflows.
Okay, so across visualization, modeling, and data capture, it's clear these technologies are weaving into almost everything.
Absolutely.
Now, we touched on drivers, but let's summarize. What are the main forces pushing this whole market forward?
Okay, so the big ones are that increasing demand for immersive experiences we talked about. That's huge.
Right.
Then, the growth in using digital twins and virtual simulations, replicating real-world assets or processes digitally for testing, optimization, training. It's becoming indispensable.
Digital twins are everywhere now.
They really are. And finally, just the sheer expansion of applications across almost every industry you can think of. More and more sectors are finding value in these 3D tools.
Okay, clear drivers. But growth never comes without challenges. What are the main restraints or hurdles the market faces?
The report points to two main ones. First, the cost. The hardware scanners, powerful workstations, and the sophisticated software licenses can represent a pretty significant investment.
Yeah, it's not cheap tech.
Not always, especially at the high end. The second major restraint is a lack of skilled professionals.
The talent gap.
Exactly. Finding people with the expertise to really operate this technology effectively, manage the data, integrate it into workflows, there's a shortage.
Those are definitely real-world challenges. Okay, finally, the report touched on the competitive landscape. Any key insights there?
Well, it notes that competition is heating up, which is driving more innovation. We're seeing interesting new entrants.
Like who?
Examples given include HoloBuilder, which has a platform for creating and sharing 3D models specifically for construction sites, great for tracking progress and collaboration. And another called Twindom, focused on creating interactive 3D digital twins of real places, like for virtual tours or remote property inspections.
So, specialized newcomers pushing boundaries. What about the established players? Are they innovating too?
Oh, absolutely. The report mentions AVEA, a big name in industrial software. They added a graphical explorer function to their E3D design software back in 2022.
And what does that do?
It apparently makes navigating and rendering really large, complex 3D models much faster and smoother, which is crucial when you're dealing with, say, an entire processing plant model.
Yeah, performance matters with huge models.
Definitely. And another example was a partnership between Aerial Solutions and VRUM, providing 3D visualization specifically for oil and gas, focusing on remote data access and collaboration for asset management.
So both established companies and startups are actively pushing the tech forward.
That's the picture. Yeah. A very dynamic space.
Okay, let's wrap up this deep dive then. If you had to boil it down, what are the main takeaways from this look at the 3D modeling, visualization, and data capture market?
I think the main story is strong, accelerating growth. It's really being fueled by our collective desire for more immersive digital interactions, plus the fact that these technologies are just becoming useful in so many different fields.
Right.
Geographically, North America holds the fort for now, but keep a close eye on Asia Pacific. That's where the most dramatic growth is projected.
The 7.3% CGR, yeah.
Exactly. And understanding which application segments are leading, like AR/VR taking the biggest share now, but safety and training growing fastest in visualization, gives you a sense of where innovation is focused. Yes, there are challenges cost, and finding skilled people are real issues, but the constant tech advancements and the energy from both new and established companies suggest this market is, well, very much alive and evolving rapidly.
A vibrant landscape indeed. Okay, lots to think about. And maybe here's a final thought for you listening. As AR and VR get better and cheaper, and capturing detailed 3D data of our world gets easier, how might these incredibly personalized, immersive digital layers fundamentally change how we learn things, how we do our jobs, and even just how we interact with the physical spaces around us in the years to come?
It's a fascinating question.
Definitely something to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.